To the North Lodge cottage garden. It's Sunday and we are motoring towards the very end of April and the beginning of May. So an incredibly busy time here in the garden. Very busy time for me all round, not just at work as a professional landscaper and gardener, but also here in the garden, and also plant reviews are motoring and coming up. Loads and loads of peony reviews to bring you this year, and a whole host of rose reviews as well, due 65 from myself over the next couple of months, as well as my show schedule as well. My show schedule this year is absolutely relentless, starting off with the BBC Solent Gardeners Fair next weekend, then heading to the Spirit of Water Festival at Salisbury Cathedral before attending Press Day at Chelsea on the 19th of May. Then I've got a little bit of a break before Hampton Court Press Day in July, but a very busy time. And in that week, in that middle period as well, in that very couple of weeks in the very beginning of May, we have brand new releases from all three major rose producers here in the UK, which you're going to be seeing with me very early and first before anybody else. But what I thought we would do today is, I'm here in front of the camera if anybody has any questions for me live here on YouTube, but I thought we'd have a walk around the garden, and I thought we'd start up here in the Wildflower meadow. So I'm sat up in the meadow at the moment, surrounded by the wildflowers, which we'll have a look at in a moment. So if you have any questions while I walk around the garden, please don't hesitate to drop me a comment if below. Or if there's something you want to know, if you're watching this back at another time, don't hesitate to drop me a comment and I will respond to you as well. So you know, the Gardener Ben podcast, which streams here on YouTube, but also on Spotify, Apple and Amazon, is wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. Got 3 or 4 really nice and very exciting guests to bring you over the next month, but we're wrapping that up by around mid-May to allow me the time to carry on with the rose reviews, as I say, and the peonies. I've got about a dozen peonies to film for you, and then 65 roses to bring you as well. So I'm going to be incredibly busy over the month of May, June, July, August, and I will be back with the podcast in September with another host of really exciting international guests for you then. So if you are craving listening to the Gardener Ben podcast, there's 24 episodes available for you to listen now. So there's loads and loads for you to get yourself your teeth into and listen to. So if you do miss me over the next couple of months and you're not interested in rose reviews, do listen to the podcast, because you can take that with you all the time. But what I thought we'd do is we'd have a walk around the garden. So I'm going to stand up, we're going to flip the camera, and we'll have a look about. Right. The roses are looking really good. So over on the fence just here, this is an east-facing fence in the garden with a 3-year-old rose in the ground. Now, this is a old rambling rose, Bobby James, which you can see I retrained this winter. It's a really great, big, powerful rose. That one's doing really well. Next to it is Constance Spry, one of the first ever David Austin roses, launched 1962 or 1968, I think the date of introduction with that one. That one is a once flowering climbing rose, named after obviously the British flower floral designer Constance Spry. Let's come around here so we can have a look at it. This one doesn't get pruned traditionally, as a lot of roses do. You can see that one's got some nice shaved buds up it right on the top of the fence panel there. Bathsheba from David Austin Roses is slowly getting itself established. You can see a lot of suckering growth from the bottom of that this year. So I'm really hoping that one's going to do well. Other roses we've got up here, we've got a small Mary Delaney over on the back fence there. A French rambling rose up the dead apple tree, which I cannot for the life of me remember the name of that one. But that one is going to flower for the first time. They've been tying that one in. You can see I've been tying that one into the tree. And look at this. The fungus on this apple tree as it dies is just absolutely beautiful. Mark and I engraved our names into this tree when we bought the house, now 7 years ago this week. Been here for 7 years now, but yeah, this tree was alive, but unfortunately has ceased to exist since then. You can see the wildflower meadow is absolutely packed with potential. Loads and loads of red campion coming up through it now. Loads of oxeye daisies. Going to be an absolute beautiful show, and I love the dark grass as well. I've got some pressed flower art now being displayed at the Ford Inn here in Fordingbridge. Obviously still available to buy through me if you wanted to buy any of my pressed flower art. But a lot of the collection that I started that's actually being exhibited now is actually pressed from the meadow last year, and it includes quite a lot of this dark grass. I love the way it moves. Really pretty. You can see that's just where I was sat a second ago underneath the the pavilion. And on that pavilion, actually, a couple of young climbing roses. We've got Strawberry Hill coming up this side, the Generous Garden up the left-hand side. Two posts still to fill because there's loads and loads of climbing roses to be added to the collection. But I'll turn around so you can see me and the house behind us. This is one of my favourite areas of the garden. It's a bit difficult to work with actually because underneath of this area is actually our septic tanks and our water purifying system. So this is where all of the stuff from the bathroom comes. It goes into three large tanks that are actually just behind me. So we have to be a bit careful with this area. It can't be really used traditionally like a lot of other people. It should be either lawn, but this is why the wildflower meadow is up here. Right, down into the main part of the garden, I'm going to show you Claire Austin first. Claire Austin on its freestanding obelisk. Now, I've got two or three, actually I've got three Claire Austins. This is the only one that's actually trained like this on an obelisk. You watched me rebuild this and tie this one in over the winter. This is absolutely stunning. She is gearing herself up for the season of her life. This particular plant is now, let's work this out. It's been here 7 years. It was in our last garden for about 3 or 4, so it's about 10 years old now. It's a whomping great big plant. When laid out and unspiraled from its actual obelisk, this one actually measures about 12 feet. It's absolutely huge. And you can see by wrapping it around, if I part some of the foliage here, you can see I've actually spiraled the canes in both different directions. They go left and right, clockwise and anti-clockwise around this obelisk. By doing that, I managed to pack in loads and loads of growth in this particular plant. And it is going to be a towering inferno of blooms, literally from, I don't know, maybe a foot from the floor, probably missed off about a foot, which is not ideal, but all the way up to final height, which is about 9 feet from the ground. This is going to be absolutely stunning in just about a week's or so time. Now, I don't know what your roses are doing at home, but here in the UK, we're obviously on the south coast of the UK. I'm on the outskirts of the New Forest, right down by Southampton Wood. We're actually halfway between Ringwood and Salisbury. The season here is really, really well advanced. It's incredibly dry, which you might have seen a second ago. Where I'm standing, the hose is actually out. The hose is actually running an irrigation system. I'm pumping water onto the beds and the borders because it hasn't really rained for months and months on end. Probably about 8, maybe coming on 9 weeks. We haven't had any substantial rain whatsoever. So I am upping the irrigation systems and making sure everything is watered. Very important at this time of year. Much as things aren't critically dry at this stage, the roses especially are producing very, very large amounts of growth. They're all producing huge flushes of growth, and they're around a month ahead of where they would normally be. Our first flush of flowers normally here is about the beginning of June, but it looks like it's going to be the very 1st of May. We're about a week away from that, and I think we'll break bud by then. And that means that everything is requiring a huge amount of water. And if you get your roses stressed right now, you allow them to dry out, you're going to end up with black spot, which is obviously not what we want. So I'm popping on the irrigation systems and watering, popping on the irrigation systems, popping on water and making sure they have absolutely everything they need. I'll be starting my feeding regime a little bit earlier than normal. So as soon as those first flushes of flowers are out, we'll be starting our feeding regime. I'll talk you through that as well. Right, so we have a question which we will answer. Actually, let's turn the camera around quickly. So, do you rate Olivia Rose Austin? Yes, I do. Olivia Rose Austin is a particularly good one. It has just fallen out of my top 20. Now, a lot of people say, well, if it's not a top 20 rose with you, is it a particularly good one? You have to bear in mind that I'm now grading 370 roses. It's an awful lot of roses to grade, and it's an awful lot of roses to put into categories. My 10-star disease resistance rating, my 10-star fragrance rating, and then my personal observations are made over at least 12 months with each particular rose. Olivia Rose Austin is a particularly good one. It lacks fragrance for me, which is a bit of a disappointing one. It is beautiful. We'll go and see Olivia Rose Austin in just a minute because I do have it in the garden. I've planted it en masse for several customers. They've created hedges and things from it. It is beautiful, very hard-working rose, but it does fall just outside the top 20. It's about 22, 23 with me at the moment, but that's not saying there's anything wrong with it. It hasn't got worse over the last couple of years, and trying to explain that again to people, say, oh, this rose has fallen out of your top 10, or this rose has fallen out of your top 20. What's wrong with it? There's nothing wrong with it, but some of the newer varieties are really, really, really good. And when they come into the top 20, they have to, unfortunately, other varieties have to move down and they have to make space. So Olivia Rose Austin, for the first time last year, along with Roald Dahl, actually fell out of my top 20 for the first time in 4 years. So it's about 21, 22, 23, somewhere about that. So very, very good rose. So do please keep the comments coming. I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll have a look at what we're looking at now. This is the view out of the kitchen. Now, this is our little kitchen. Well, there's one of our kitchen windows here. Well, actually, we've got three kitchen windows, one here, and one here. This is the kitchen in the cottage. We've actually been painting the house. So this actually is all done. I'll show you in a minute where we were to, but I've painted all of this. Mark and I have been out painting, trying to get this all ready. It needs painting about every 2 or 3 years. But down here, we've got our large bug hotel, which I made about 4 or 5 years ago, which I absolutely adore. Roses in the border here, when we call this, so you've obviously heard me call this before, this is the lower part. It runs round the east and the north side of the house. So that's the east side of the house. You have to excuse the mess. I had to take the rose off the wall yesterday. And this is the north side of the cottage. And in this border, this doesn't really get any direct sunlight until the sun comes round here. It comes in here about 6, 7 o'clock in the afternoon. And this part of the garden gets absolutely baked by west-facing sun. So here we've got Benjamin Britten from David Austin Roses, those lovely burgundy stems with that lovely mossing coming up through there. It's almost a peachy colour. It's absolutely beautiful. I've got a standard Princess Alexandra of Kent next to the big Claire Austin on its obelisk just there. Planted underneath of that is Vanessa Bell. And just like a picture postcard, look at that, the blossom falling off of Mark's cherry tree. It's been absolutely glorious. It's really getting to a decent size now. And it's been beautiful from every angle you see it in the garden. But you can just see the start of the blossom falling off, and it's now starting to leaf through a little bit. Also in this border, we've got some peonies, which are a bowl of beauty over the back there, some lilies, some big phlox in this border. But you can see it's really, really starting to fill out now. The weeds are really coming on. I've got so much bindweed, constantly pulling this blooming stuff out. Drives me absolutely nuts. But yeah, I've got bindweed absolutely everywhere. Boscabelle from David Austin Roses here, and I love this large piece of topiary. We inherited this with the house. Not very many things stayed when we bought the house 6, 7, 8 years ago, but this was one of the things that did actually stay, this large piece of topiary clipped. Quite difficult to maintain this, actually. I'll show you, because it's actually on a little set of steps. So I've got the Crown Princess Margarita planted right next to it, which is my fault. I did that, silly boy. And next to that, Fragonard from Peter Beale's Roses. But it's quite difficult to get all the way round this particular plant. So with a hedge cutter is really quite difficult. So we've got change of levels just through here and lots of bits and pieces planted far too close to it. But that's all my own fault. Right, so the view out of the kitchen window is looking really good. Malvern Hills from David Austin Roses, the rambling rose climbing up through here. Been very naughty and brought it through and across our electric cables. I'm not allowed to do that, but I really wanted this sort of bower of yellow flowers coming across here, which is going to look really lovely. Underneath, we've got Sceptred Isle from David Austin, once again looking really, really good, putting on lots and lots of lovely growth. Some more lovely lilies coming up. I am religiously, let's have a look and see whether we've got any nasty lily beetles. We seem to be clear. I am being really disciplined this year, making sure I come out at least in the evenings, dusk, and again in the morning. I'm coming out and making sure that we're picking off those beetles. There is no point whatsoever spraying them. Lily beetle do not respond to spray whatsoever, and they only exclusively eat lilies. They eat nothing else. I had loads of negative comments on the video about squashing them. There's literally nothing else you can do. If you want to grow lilies, lily beetle will decimate them, and then they will lay their eggs, and their babies will cover themselves in their poop so nothing eats them. The stems will go black and slimy. They're covered in poop, and then they will die. So it is really important. If you want to grow lilies, unfortunately, there's no other way of doing it. You have to squash the lily beetle. So being very, very disciplined with those. Kew Gardens, just from David Austin Roses, just here. Then we have Molyneux, Dame Judy Dench, Nye Bevan in the front there. Again, lots of peonies coming up. This one is Princess Alexandra or Lady Alexandra Duff. Really, really lovely one. You can see an ant on there farming for some sap. Just coming up on that one. A fabulous peony reviewed by myself. There's a review here on YouTube for you to watch on that one. A really lovely peony just here. This one is, now what is this one? Julia Rose. This one came from Farmer Gracie, but a really lovely one just coming up into bloom now. On the back fence just here, one of my favourite old rambling roses, Ghislaine de Filigrande, a French rambler, almost thornless. This one is looking like it's going to have an absolutely stunning season. This is only a 2 or 3 year plant now, covering a 8 foot by 6 foot high fence panel. Really, really lovely. I'm going to start training this in other places, and I'm very excited to see the very first blooms opening on my foxglove tree. Now, these are Not saying they're difficult to grow, and they're not particularly rare, but not many people have them. I've only seen about 5 or 6 of these in my 30 years gardening. I fell in love with these at our last house. Somebody on the gardening committee of our local gardening group that we opened our garden with actually had one of these in her garden. This is a foxglove tree, and she had a purple one like mine is. I bought this at the Dorset County Fair. It's a tiny little plant. It's only about 2 foot high. It's quite expensive. And we've moved it about, and I finally planted it. This particular plant will produce leaves very much like a tobacco plant. They're about a foot in diameter. They're absolutely massive. I've got my hands out, but you can't see them. But they're about a foot across, and it carries the flowers. These funny little stems will actually go onto it in late October and early November, and it will carry the flowers in bud form all the way through the winter before it actually opens them in the spring. And you're left with these lovely little spikes of purple or white flowers. Mine's purple. It's really, really lovely. I'll make some media about this because this is particularly special. But this plant now starting to get to a really good size. So I'm really, really pleased with that. So that's my foxglove tree. Right, shuttlecock fern coming through now. Made some media about that a couple of days ago. It's really, really nice. Silas Mar, an ex former #1 recommended rose for myself, looking really good. Look at that beautiful burgundy growth on that one. A white lilac just over the back there. Again, that came as a suckering plant, a spur I bought with us from our last house. Now getting up to about 8 foot high, really good size. This border contains some of my favourite roses, and I always say this when I'm live. Got Munstead wood over the back. The front here we have, who have we got? I've gone blank. I know we have Litchfield Angel at the back there. That's that one. We've got the Lady Salisbury here. And who are you? Oh, you're Grace. There we go. That's who you are. You're Grace. And Peony Bowl of Beauty just down there on the left-hand side. But yeah, everything's coming up really, really nicely as we move through the garden. I really love this look that we managed to create here. The picket fence here originally went in to keep our geese. The area that is now our wildflower meadow used to hold and contain our Sebastopol geese. We let those go about 2 years ago now. And 3 years ago, the wildflower meadow went down in its place, but the picket fence remained. And I really love the boundary. Although the area behind it is ours, I love the break in the garden. Looking through it is really, really nice from the kitchen windows. And I love having the roses in front of it. So some of my favourites here. Princess Anne, very, very close to opening bud now, looking really good. Next to that, Princess Anne is a Crown Princess Margarita, my second one of those. I've got 3 in total. Then we've got Tranquility, a pure white rose from David Austin. Next to that, the Lady Gardener. Next to that, Hyde Hall. Over in the corner, we've got my large bananas, which this year have overwintered quite nice. And we're going to have to stop, and we are just going to have a look at my cherry, or Mark's cherry. And we call it Mark's cherry because my husband Mark never really asked for anything in the garden at all. And to try and get him involved and try and really sort of spark his imagination, I said to him must have been about 8 years ago, is there anything in the garden that you'd like that you don't have? He goes, I really want a cherry tree. So I went out and bought him a cherry tree. And it was quite big when I bought it. It was quite a lot of money. Anyway, it came with us from our last house. It's one of the largest things we brought with us. This particular plant had only been in the ground for around a year. When I dug it up and brought it here, really had nowhere else to put it. And here was a little juvenile apple tree. And I thought, I'm just going to dig the apple tree up and put it here. So, but look at it, it's absolutely lovely. And it looks so good against the roof. And we looked over quite a lot from this side of the house. And you can actually see this from down the road, which I really love. The sun comes streaming into it in the late afternoon and just makes it absolutely glow, which I really, really love. So that's Mark's cherry tree. Over in this border here, this one gets a lot of afternoon sun. As I said, the sun behind me now, and it comes in here in the late afternoon. So this area gets baked by late afternoon sun. I've got a banana in the back here, Rambling Rose Paul's Noel on the back fence, Sambucus nigra, which is the black cutleaf elder, which I've talked about not only a couple of days ago on all of my channels, but in front of that, the Queen of Sweden. Now, I used to have 3 of these, but unfortunately, I'm slowly losing them. Probably a little bit too closely planted together, probably. But anyway, they're getting a little old now. They're also about 12 years old, so they are starting to struggle. Probably need to replace those. The alliums, as you can see, are just coming through beautifully now. But on the back fence, a old Rambling Rose or old Climbing Rose. That one is Maygold, which is often one of the first in flower. We shall move our way round, so please excuse the fact it's a little bit untidy. I've been weeding and the hose is out, and we are going down to the lower path, and you can see this area of the house needs to be repainted. Mark and I have painted along through to about here. I took the chocolate vine down yesterday, which normally occupies the area between the bathroom and the first bedroom window. That's been pruned to the floor, and then Rose Blechenblau has been taken off so I can paint, and then I'll put it back up on the wall so I can make sure that actually flowers. The chocolate vine incident, I'll be posting media about over the next couple of days. Really good idea. I'll show you actually. It's a really good idea to prune these to the floor quite regularly. It didn't go quite to the floor, but you can see I've pruned that to about, what, 2.5 to 3 feet. That will regenerate really quite nicely. A very, very lovely climbing plant, but very, very vigorous. Have to be careful it doesn't get up into the roof, and I did spend quite a lot of time picking it out of the thatch yesterday, which our thatcher would be very, very... So if Chris is watching, he's probably not watching, but if Chris is watching, I'm very sorry, Chris. I did let it go up the roof. It's very naughty. Right, let's flip this round so you can see what's going on down here. Love this border, one of my favourites. My Espalier James Grieve apple tree up the top there had a fabulous year for blossom, and you can see already a clematis in flower alongside of it. Looking really good. I'm going to have to thin the apples down in the next couple of weeks. I'll talk you through how to do that. We have Septodile, another Septodile here. Emily Bronte in the front here. Charles Darwin in the middle of this border, planted next to a really big Philadelphus, which again is just budding up because the season is so well advanced. Look at the growth on this royal fern. It is absolutely stunning. This will be about 4.5, coming on 5 feet tall by the time it's finished. And it's just lovely. Look at it. It's such a lot of fun. Really, really beautiful for a fern. I like this one. Rose LD Braithwaite, just here from David Austin Roses. I have to be careful as I come through, otherwise this rose is going to bite me. Bear with me a second while I just get myself through this area. Then we've got Harlow Carr. We've got, who have we got on the post? We've got Graham Thomas on the washing line post just there. Again, you can see this border really filling out the things like the Astilbes, and there's Princess Anne as a rose there from David Austin. Things like the Crocosmia lucifer coming up really well. Just before the contorted hazel is just leafing itself through now. In this shady part here, this one is Port Sunlight from David Austin Roses. The Lark Ascending, because this area is a little bit different. This rose will be quite heavily in the shade because of the house, but the sun comes over the top of the house in about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and hits the Lark Ascending just here, which is why I planted it here. And this one will stretch right up to about 8 feet tall, towering with beautiful apricot flowers. But that one is the Lark Ascending. There's actually 2 plants planted there. On the other side, I've got another couple of Queen of Swedens. I've got then Jubilee Celebration and Tranquility planted very close together. On the obelisk just there, Highgrove from Peter Beals, that beautiful, very, very dark crimson red climbing rose, planted next to Persicaria Red Dragon, really, really bold. And I planted the Persicaria right next to Daylily because I absolutely love that wine red with the orange of the flowers. The combination together is absolutely stunning. I'm going to flip the camera again because look, the wisteria is in flower, which really, really does make me happy. I'm approaching my wrens that are nesting just underneath the thatch, which is why they're singing. They're not going to be happy that I'm down on this lower path, but I will show you their nest in just a second because it is just off to my left. But look, the wisteria is in flower. It is absolutely stunning. So yes. Okay, so someone asking whether the foxglove tree is invasive. Not classed as being invasive in this country. Might be classed as being invasive in America, but I don't know where you're commenting from. But the foxglove tree not classed as being invasive as far as I'm aware here in the UK. But yeah, it doesn't produce any seeds. So I'm not sure how it can be invasive because I think it only propagates from cuttings. But anyway, let me know in the comments. Right, down here, I've just spied while I'm on the phone to you. We were talking about lily beetle, and then look, there's one of the little blight. Oh, he flew off, little sod. He's gone. Anyway, I have obviously missed that one. He's obviously gone off to look for a lady friend to do horrible things with on a lily and produce lots more blooming lily beetles. But you can see anyway, there's no damage to these ones just yet, but I will have to keep monitoring them. And I said I was going to go around, just appreciate the wisteria flowers for just a second. Look at that, just really, really lovely. Not supposed to be around the thatch, but again, don't care, my house, my rules. Right, look, our wrens are just up here. They love nesting right underneath the eaves of the thatch, tucked away. Mr. and Mrs. Wren will have several broods of babies this year. One from this nest because they're already in there producing them, and then they will all come out, and I'll show you. What they'll do is they'll fledge normally around my birthday in about 3 weeks' time, and I will come out and I will have to water the tree ferns. The tree ferns are just here; they're just starting to uncurl their first fronds, and they actually sleep. When they first fledge, they always sleep right up in the top of the tree fern. It is the most adorable thing, and I um, come out and obviously water these twice a day. And I quite often pour a watering can of water into the top of this to be greeted with about half a dozen very wet baby wrens that are still sleeping because they get up quite late. And they all sort of clamber all the way around the outside of the tree fern, all stuck to it on the outside. It really is quite sweet. I do love the wrens. Peony, coral charm. You can see the ants working away on this one. This one is a really lovely peony, and I'm going to work my way back. I tell you what, let's go around the outside. I'll go over the little set of steps that I built into my wall. We're going to go up here. We'll have a look. I'll move all the way back so you can see the size of the garden. So we cover just under about a third of an acre in total. Move back so you can see the house nestled away there. So this is the east side of the cottage, the east side of the garden. Wisteria just on the side there. Large weeping willow tree, which I chose this year not to prune. I normally knuckle that one right back, and this is the other side of that donut border we were just walking our way around a second ago. So we were talking now about peony coral charm. Next to that, funny enough, it went into the a new rose for me last year was the Spirit of Freedom. That replaced Lady Emma Hamilton that was in that particular spot. We were just talking about Persicaria Red Dragon. I've got another one of those over there, which we'll go to in a moment. But yeah, on this side, lots more astilbes coming up. They're lovely foliage. Hostas. Keep on watering those with a garlic water at the moment to keep the slugs and snails at bay. And that's the other side of the border there, and you can see that clematis just up there on the side. And that's the view back down to the wildflower meadow where we just came from. Right, working our way along this border. Anne Boleyn from David Austin Roses. I'm going to have to do a bit of pruning. I think this burning bush is getting a little bit out of hand. It's getting a bit big. I've got another Valbletchenblau, the blue, violet blue rambling rose on the fence there. That one actually was with the house when we moved in. In front of that, a very, very sickly Oldwick rose, which I think I might replace now. I think that one's had its time. Mr. and Mrs. Squirrel have been very busy burying all over the garden conkers, which I keep pulling up. What have we got here? We've got Roald Dahl just producing its first buds just moments away, and you can see there is a little bit of sticky honeydew actually falling from the aphids that will be up in the trees just at the moment, and I'll talk to you about aphids just in a second. Right, who have we got on the back here? We've got the Queen of Sweden again. We've got another Claire Austin. I don't know who this is. This particular rose actually came with the house. I don't particularly like it. It's a hybrid tea, but it does produce really quite large flowers, but it's quite showy, but I keep it there. I should dig it up and replace it with something else. Big ornamental rhubarb starting to produce some large leaves. Blooming goosegrass over the back there. I must get over and get some weeds out of there, although the borders will consume it. Rose, what one what is that one? That is Pink Paradise, I think. I think that one is Pink Paradise. And working along, we have Wollaston Old Hall on the back fence just there. We've got the Lady Gardener planted alongside the Crocus Rose, a nice combination. Princess Anne again over the back. Some more lilies. Still, we're going to have a quick look. No, that pesky lily beetle didn't come over here. Coming up at the back of the border just now, a giant, brain's not working this morning. I obviously had too many sherbets last night. That will come to me in a second. On the side of the rose arch, a blush noisette planted alongside on the other side, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and absolutely over the top, R.F. Kiskate, the big rambling rose. That one goes all up into the trees. You can see it stretching right up here. It's all rambling about in the trees. Actually, it's far up, all the way up there, which is why I planted it. I wanted it to be dripping with flowers and dripping with hips come the autumn, which it does. It looks really, really lovely. We've then got Ferdinand Pritchard, an old rose just there. We've got the Lady of Shalott, Princess Alexandra of Kent. Who are you? You're Imogen. Over the back there, we've got Paul's Himalayan Musk on the fence. Lady Emma Hamilton tucked down the back there. Right, so here we are. We are now at what we call the kidney border, one of the lovely borders in the garden, which I really, really like. This one's got a bit of trellis work and actually fronts the patio. Now, we used to have a hot tub on this patio. We can't afford to run it anymore. But this border is absolutely packed full of some of my favourite roses. So if you're still with me, the person that asked what I rated Olivia Rose Austin as, this one is Olivia Rose Austin just here. You can see beautiful, healthy foliage coming up already into bud, flanked by at the back a standard Wild Eve. On the other side, a standard Gentle Hermione. So two standards in this particular bed. We've then got Jane Austen. We've got Teasing Georgia, Harlow Carr, and a Desdemona in this border as well. But you can see that's the view back to the cottage, our patio, which is south facing, where the tree ferns are and the olives surrounding that. Let's come down and have a look. Brought out the deck chairs a couple of days ago. Those are now out, ready for use. Fire pit, it's been too cold to light the fire, but we will do. On either side, we'll go down in a second and have a look at them. The two buff beauties planted either side of the door. They've been in just over a year now, but you can see they're absolutely smothered in buds. They're going to have an absolutely cracking season. I'm going to go down actually because I want to show you the border that's behind the. Right, let's go down and we'll stop. We'll look at these fabulous tulips on the way down. The tulip season has been absolutely stunning. Look at these. These are from Farmer Gracie. They have been absolutely stunning this year. Really, really, really pleased with these. Little tulip down here. Let's flip you around again. This one is a brand new one for 2025. This one is Violette. I think I've got that right, or Violet, one or the other. That's really, really beautiful. Really small dwarf tulip, multi-headed. You can see 2 or 3 stems per plant there. Really, really lovely. And this one, I can't remember the name of that one. Again, new for 2025, but just stunning. They've been like this for nearly 3 weeks. They've been absolutely beautiful. And I've got a pot of them down here next to the water tank. But they've looked at this like this for weeks. I thought, oh, last week when Easter came that they were going to be over, but they've continued to hold their flowers. Their petals still haven't dropped. They've been absolutely glorious. Now, the water tank. Hello, fishies. Are you going to stay there? Look, my koi are up. All about. They haven't been fed this morning. They are not particularly happy. We had a pesky heron here a couple of days ago. Actually, 10 days ago. Blimmin' heron turned up and made a whole lot of mess and splashed about and sent them right down. Luckily, it doesn't appear that we actually lost anybody. But yeah, the heron was certainly here and had a good go at trying to find some fish to eat. Anyway, my koi are quite large. They're about 12, 15 inches long. So I'm glad we didn't lose any. But there's about, I don't know, 17 or 18 of them in there. But yeah, I'm glad we didn't lose any of those. But these are the buff beauties we were talking about just a second ago. Been in the ground literally exactly 1 year. They were bought at the very, very end of bare root rose season 2024. But you can see really starting to beefing up. First of the train. So all I've done is train those back, pull those back onto the wires that I've already put down so I can start pulling them back. But it's a large shrub rose or a small climber. Trains quite well. My review for that one is available for you to watch. And look, some lovely, tasty, yummy green fly being farmed by an ant there. And what we've got, I can't actually see, we've got some aphid and some green fly there at the same time. I've been producing lots of content about green fly and black fly and aphid attack over the last couple of weeks, and I will continue to do so. It's really important if you see growth like that in your garden, you actually leave it well alone. It's really important. These are a cornerstone of your garden's ecosystem, and they are very, very important that you leave them alone. The birds will eat them. Ladybird larvae and adult ladybirds will eat them. They have voracious appetites and they're eating hundreds and hundreds of them a day. Lacewings will eat them. Hoverfly larvae will eat them. Earwigs will eat them. They are a really, really important cornerstone of your garden ecosystem. It is very important that you leave them alone. I know they look really scary. So many people message me saying they kill plants. They don't kill plants. They stop your plants producing buds. They don't stop you. Don't get me wrong. They are drinking the sap. There's nothing about it. There's no ifs and buts about it. They are drinking the sap and they will produce honeydew. You can get mildew and mold from them. But the benefits of leaving them in the garden and leaving the birds especially to eat them, the worst thing you want to do is spray them with a chemical of any description. And I mean any description, whether it's an organic chemical or a chemical is the worst thing you can do. Organic chemicals, find they don't hurt the environment because they're not made of pesticides, but they kill absolutely everything because they cover everything in this oil, and every insect that touches it will die, whether it's a ladybird, whether it's a lacewing, whether it's an earwig, whether it's an aphid or a greenfly. It kills everything. There's nothing you can do about that. So I just leave them alone. And if you spray them with a chemical, what's going to happen is they're going to die, and a bird is still going to come along and feed them to their young. And that, just let that sit with you for a second, because that makes me feel physically sick. You're talking about a very, very tiny baby bird, a fledgling bird, maybe only a couple of days old, being fed poisoned aphids. They don't live. Whole nests of blue tits, great tits, wrens, robins die because people have sprayed their plants with stuff, and then the insects are taken back to the nests and fed to birds, and then they die, which is just awful. It's catastrophic. An adult bird can eat several of them without being affected, but baby birds, they're tiny, they can't. So please don't spray them. Please don't be tempted to wipe them off with your fingers. Please don't be tempted to wash them off. Your predatory insects will be along in the next couple of weeks to deal with them, and I promise you this will happen. The population needs to explode first. Greenfly, blackfly, aphid need to have a boom. There needs to be thousands of them before anything can actually then say there's enough food source to start the breeding cycle. So your breeding cycles of things like ladybirds will be about 14 to 21 days behind them. So please just hold your ground. The food source needs to remain, otherwise they will arrive and there will be nothing for them to eat. Adult ladybirds will take to the wing and they will fly off and they will go somewhere else. So if you are considering swashing them or washing them off, please don't. Just hold your ground for now. Really, really important that you leave them alone, because I promise you, things will eat them. And if you just stand and watch them for a second, you'll see the blue tits, you'll see the wrens, the great tits, the bullfinches, all of those kind of birds coming and picking them off one by one, tasty little snacks for our birds. So please do leave them alone. Right, let's move on. We are moving over. Oh, Penelope Lively from David Austin Roses just down here. Very key spot in the garden for this one. The tank is looking lovely. Managed to get the water clarity right for a while. Until sun comes out too much, you can see to the bottom, so which is one of the reasons why the blooming heron arrived, because we could see them. Anyway, never mind, it's my fault. The winter garden, newly planted, is looking really, really lovely. This now contains all of the roses that I reviewed this time last year. They were moved out of the trial bed, put into a bucket, stored for a while. All of the roses that were reviewed last year, didn't get rid of any. I did not like any of the roses I reviewed last year, so all of them went into this particular border. And there is obviously a small U just here, and the large U pyramids, 1 and 2, move from the front of the cottage, just over there. We've painted that bit of the house as well, by the way. That's all painted. That's all done. It's just the back of the house to go now. But this particular now contains loads and loads of roses. And lots, you can see, look at the bindweed. I only pulled the bindweed out of here on Monday. Look at it. Absolutely mountains of it. My only advice for this is just to keep on and on pulling. Don't let it come up. Don't let it photosynthesize. Keep on top of it and keep pulling it up wherever you see it. Whatever you do, don't dig it. Dig it makes it worse. It just generates more and more of it. So yeah, loads and loads of roses in this one. I'm not going to show you this because I've got a tree peony in flower up. Not going to show you that because that one's going to be reviewed in a couple of days. A really, really nice tree peony that I'm going to be reviewing for you. But that is the winter garden. Lots of cornus, lots of hellebores planted in this one. And obviously all the overspill roses. And look, the tulips, they're still out. They have been absolutely stunning. These have been in flower like this from Farmer Gracie for, again, it's coming on 3 or maybe 4 weeks. The colour has intensified. Again, I keep thinking that they're going to drop their petals. But the weather's been absolutely perfect for tulips this year. It's been warm, it's been dry, it's been still. We haven't had really much inclement weather at all. So these have been absolutely glorious. And this, once again, is another brand new variety for 2025 from Farmer Gracie. Oh, I can't remember the name. Anyway, if you want to drop me a message, I can always drop you the name because I've got an album on my phone with them. But they really, really are absolutely stunning. They've been really, really good this year. Been very pleased with the tulips. Back of the patio there, south facing, so this one gets baked by the sun. This particular border contains dozens of roses from lots of different people. This one's not only got lots of Peterbilt's roses in it, it's got roses from Harkness and David Austin in it. We'll count our way through this selection because there's some really lovely roses. And I'm really glad I've really paid attention to where I planted some of these as well. So right down in the front here, we've got Macmillan Nurse from Peterbilt's. This is an adorable little rose. I cannot recommend this one enough. Please head over to my YouTube channel and have a look at the review for this particular rose. This is adorable, producing porcelain white ivory white flowers, very, very pretty. I'm really glad I planted it right close to the wall. It picks up the colour of the limestone absolutely beautifully, and a really, really lovely rose. Next to it, Jacqueline Dupree from Harkness Roses. And in this border, the backbone of this is actually three country parsons, one of which is here, and three Harlow cards from David Austin. Those are the background colours, punctuated by things like um, um, Macmillan Nurse, Jacqueline Dupree, and then you've got St Ethelberger from Peterbilt's, a pink rose in the centre there. Ivor's rose, which is the one here producing these flame burgundy red tips. Look at him, he's an absolute cracker of a rose, really, really lovely, dark cerise pink, producing his first buds. Look, just see there, a really nice one. Once again, the review is here and available on YouTube for you to watch at any time. And if I move around this border, obviously we've got a nice big uh, olive just here, which is beautiful, underplanted with the lovely lamb's ears, which I love. Which again, this is to prove how early everything is, how advanced the season is. This is already coming up to flower. Normally wouldn't be in flowering until about July, but it's so far advanced. This is already pushing up stems to come up to flower, and it's only April. Right, so we were talking about Ivor's rose, which is this one here with the burgundy red tips. This one in the front here is actually Wisley 2008 from David Austin Roses, which I absolutely adore. Tough, tough, hardy rose. And in the front here, again, with a few little aphids on it, which is really nice to see, we have Shandow's Beauty from Harkness Roses. So I'm really pleased with how this border has worked out and where these are planted. So these are coming really, really well. These are now in their their second, end of their full second year. These are coming into their third year, but really, really now starting to produce some really nice, solid plants, some great structure. Very specifically in this border, Ivor's Rose, which I cannot recommend enough, St Ethelberger from Peterbilt's, and Wisley 2008, which now sadly, for some reason from David Austin, although a fabulous rose, has been retired. But that one is another cracking one, very, very graceful. This one, I can't describe it enough, really. This one produces great big sort of long arching stems, and they really do arch. I mean, when I say arching, it does sort of flop, and a lot of people don't like the floppy ones, but I love it. It sort of billows over the lawn, and you can see here, the sun comes round the back of the old big thuya. What time is it now? About 12 o'clock. The sun moves round here, and it then starts catching this rose beautifully. And in the afternoon, late afternoon, early evening, Wisley 2008 will be nodding away here and just catches the light absolutely beautifully. So really, really nice rose, very, very romantic. Planted this one in exactly the right space, which is one of these reasons why I do my rose reviews, and I talk about the way that the plant looks in certain light conditions and how it looks in certain times, because for me that's what catches the essence of the plant and the essence of the whimsy and the romance of it all. So get the location right, and I think I know I've got the location right of all of these plants and these borders. For instance, Shandow's Beauty, just here, this one here catches morning sun from just directly in front of me there, comes past in between the house and the willow tree. This one covered in dew early in the morning, where it's this lovely sort of peachy, ivory, creamy colour. Absolutely chef's kiss, look absolutely stunning. So I'm really, really glad about that. I pay attention to the way I plant things because that is very, very important. Right, who have we got up here? Elizabeth from David Austin Roses in her warming great big pot. Look at that stems coming up, that beautiful burnt burgundy red of Elizabeth coming up in the pot. This there, really, really lovely. The very, very last throws of some tulips from Farmer Gracie. This bulb lasagna has been absolutely stunning this year. Espalier from David Austin Roses. This rose gets a lot of attention because I work with this rose a lot because it's a potted specimen. It's easy for me to work with, but a fabulous top 5 rose with myself. This one is Royal Jubilee from David Austin on its little wigwam there. Really, really nice. And obviously, on the front of the stable, as you will all know, the very, very famous 1 and 2, one each side, Bring Me Sunshine, my current #1 most recommended rose. That one has been #1 for 2 years consecutively. I was hoping to get around to digging these out of the pots this year and planting them in the ground or planting them somewhere else. I simply didn't get around to it. Too busy with other things. Anyway, so they're going to remain in their pots for the rest of this year. They've been heavily mulched, they've been heavily fed, tear pruned. Please do watch my technique of how to tear prune here on YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, or TikTok if you want to. This tear and layer pruning ensures that when I'll prove this when it comes to actually flowering, This plant in its pot will be layered all the way through. 6 layers of cuts I managed to get into this plant this year, which means from eave height at 8'6" all the way through to the top of the pot, which is about 18 inches, 45 centimeters from the ground. This plant will be a towering inferno, dripping with golden cupped flowers, heavily scented. Really, really adore this rose. But will it be knocked off its #1 spot this year? Will something else move it off its #1 spot? Can't tell you for now, although observations are all being kept. But yeah, one bring me sunshine here, one bring me sunshine over there. And you can see the dark spot here, this one round the side, doesn't get any sun whatsoever. This area gets no direct sunlight whatsoever, which is why I keep Donahue, which was launched in 2023 at Chelsea and obviously exclusively here with me on the internet. Donahue, named after Danny Clark, the black gardener from David Austin. Absolutely stunning, a fabulous rose here in deep shade. It gets only about 2 hours, maybe 3 hours of direct sunlight a day. You can see how shady it is because the moss grows all up the pot. People say, oh, you can shave that off. No, I'm not. I love it. Anyway, it stays in its very, very large pot and it absolutely adores it. Right, moving on. Emma Bridgewater, going to have her full personal review, obviously launched this time last year, and round into the vegetable cutting and trial garden. Some of my dahlias have already moved out into the cold frame. Those have been pinched back now. Pinch the stems back to about 2, 3, 4 leaf nodes. They've just been given a bit of a feed. They've been in those pots for about 6 to 8 weeks now. Clematis Sumatra Joe on the back here, covered in buds, planted alongside Gertrude Jekyll. This is grown as a climbing rose. You can see, look at this one, absolutely covered in lovely, lovely fresh growth. Going to be smothered in flowers this year. Again, planted in fairly deep shade. This area gets no sun whatsoever. And Gertrude Jekyll is a beautiful either climber or a bush rose from David Austin, but it does get really, really stressed. And it's very easy for it to get stressed. So it's planted here, I'll show you. Fairly deep shade, don't get really a great deal of sun at all. Gets direct sunlight for about 2 hours a day, but it does really well here in direct shade. And make sure you give it plenty of water because keeping the stress off of it is key to keeping the black spot off of Gertrude Jekyll. Right, we have St. Swithin in this back planter, a rose reviewed by myself. It was actually here for review, and all I did was move it over there. It's going to occupy this trellis panel. So impressed with St. Swithin. So that one went into there. The trial garden this year broken down into several different stages, keeping the suppliers separately. So they've got 65 in the ground this year for full review. Everything in this bed here that you see are all David Austin varieties, all either exclusively grown or bred by David Austin roses. 13, 14 in this particular bed. I'll take you to see the other ones in a moment. The sweet peas are doing, well, they're slow, really slow for an autumn sow. They are really, really slow. But they are gone in. They are starting, as you can see, to climb very, very slowly, receiving a weekly feed of Envy Sea Feed Extra at the moment. At full dose now, gone up to a full dose, but the feeding Friday has commenced. They are now being fed regularly. Another 3 rambling and climbing roses from David Austin in this bed. These will be reviewed come June, July. On the back there, that one is again up for review. It's been on the ground 2 years. It did flower last year. That one is the Albrighton Rambler from David Austin Roses. It did flower. I had about 5 or 6 flowers on it, but it wasn't enough to give me my personal opinion on that one. So I kept that bound back for another year. Albrighton Rambler from David Austin Roses, obviously named after Albrighton, which is where the David Austin Nursery is in Shropshire, but that one will be reviewed. I've got another peony, Coral Charm, just here because I love this one so much. That one is already been reviewed. You can see the review for that one on my channels. The dahlias I noticed yesterday, I have my first sprouts. Look, just down here. Very, very signs of the first signs of life in the dahlias that have been left in the ground and overwintered. Dahlia imperialis, you can also see, is awake and survived the winter. At this point, my next job is actually to peel back the piles of mulch. You can see the sort of large hillocks of mulch over the top of them. I'll peel back the mulch and start having an investigation. I won't do any poking about with the dahlias until about the end of May. So we're about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of that. If I don't see any signs of life by then, I will very, very gently, I'll remove the cages that are around them and I will peel back the soil. And if I don't think the a tuber has survived, I will replace it with something else. So in the greenhouse, I'll show you in a minute. Obviously, we've got the dahlias that I've got in the cold frame just over there, but there's quite a few of those. And after that, we've got about another dozen or so in the greenhouse. So there will be plenty of it, and they will be occupying the space actually right behind me, which I normally grow pumpkins in, but that's the only other space in the garden left for dahlias now, because roses have taken over everything. Roses and peonies. There's roses and peonies absolutely everywhere. So I won't be doing anything with the dahlias. All I'm going to do now is all I will do in a second is start peeling back these piles of mulch very gingerly to start warming the soil. We're expecting quite a lot of warm weather this week here in the UK, so I want to get the warmth down into the soil. You can feel the soil is actually a little bit colder in these hillocks, so I just want to peel these back and make sure any sprouts that are coming up have plenty of option to get to the soil surface and don't struggle. Right, so then we're broken down into this section here. All the peonies for review, or not all of them because there are more. All the peonies for review are coming on just there. I'll take you around and show you the other ones. We've got some that have been in the ground for over a year. Just along the back here, you can see several buds coming on those as well. Those were supplied by Farmer Gracie. So those will be reviewed. Oh, another sprout down there from another dahlia I've just noticed. But yeah, broken down into several sections in the back here. We've got more roses from David Austin in the back planter, Caroline Knight and Summer Song to be reviewed by myself. Then roses from Trevor White and Harkness, and from Peter Beals in this border here. Things like Burgundy Ice. In the Twilight Zone is here. The Duchess of Cornwall. All roses here, again in the front here as well. Loads and loads of roses. There's more roses there. There's roses everywhere, more peonies, more roses. Roses and peonies pretty much absolutely everywhere. More roses in this bed. These are all from Peter Beals. These will all be reviewed as well. So yeah, just roses absolutely everywhere. This bed normally has dahlias in it, but Market expressed an interest in growing white sage for holistic purposes and for spiritual purposes. So I planted him a bed of white sage, which is just in here, and couldn't help but adding a little flourish that's got foxglove in it to make it look pretty. And then we're back to having a look at those peonies as well. And I've got fruit bushes and espalier fruits. We've got apple trees around the back, a standard currant, a red currant here, black currants, gooseberries, and raspberries all the way along here, which I never get to eat because the blackbirds eat them before we actually get around to doing anything with them, but still, I don't mind sharing. And the greenhouse, the current situation is the succulents are just about to move outside. This week's weather, we should see them moving outside. Some dahlias still in. Absolutely every single dahlia tuber that I bought this year, every single tuber that I overwintered and dug up, because I don't keep all of them in the ground, because some of them are kept in pots, so some of them have to come in. Every dahlia tube survived this year, so all of the dahlias, fabulous ones like Kaz Cloud, bred by Santa Cruz Dahlias, who incidentally I will be talking to on the podcast in the next couple of weeks. I'm very, very excited to speak to the team from Santa Cruz Dahlias, the breeder of that particular dahlia. Absolutely fabulous dinner plate dahlia. Right, I think that's pretty much all of it. I'll tour you back round so you can see the house. Oh, there's one more border to go. Well, actually, if you can bear with me a second, we will move back round. Incidentally, things like log piles are really important in the garden. If you are struggling to get predatory insects in the garden, things like ladybirds, do consider creating yourself. It doesn't have to be this big. I mean, this was all the dead trees that were actually in this area when we moved into the house, but this is a big pile of timber. This is the ideal place for things like ladybirds to hide over the winter months. So really, really important if you have the space to create yourself, even a couple of logs, just doesn't have to be huge. But I want to take you down and I want to show you one area of the garden we haven't gone through just yet. We'll go this way. We'll go past one of the olives, past Astacia Vi, in this border containing those lovely roses like Ivor's Rose, Jacqueline Dupree, St. Ethelberger. Down here, my handiwork. I love admiring my wall. I really am pleased with that. It took me months to build, but I am very, very pleased with it. And we are coming down, and I wanted to walk you all the way down here to show you this border. Now, excuse the mess, there's no garden's ever tidy. We have, now perfect. This is really, really good to see. This is Climbing Rose James Galway. Now, can you see here, I was talking about aphids and greenfly a second ago. Those are some greenfly there. Can you see the white ones just here? Those are actually dead carcasses, and they have been drank dry by a predatory insect like a ladybird or a ladybird larvae. I can't find one on here, but you can see those are fresh green fly there. Those are the food source. And the white ones, all these dead carcasses have been bled completely dry, drained of their blood and their insides by a predatory insect. So I'm really, really pleased. That is the kind of activity that you want to see in the garden. And if you don't leave these, you won't get these and you won't be feeding your insects. So very, very important. So yeah, James Galway's on a post just there. Next to that, tottering by gently. James L. Austin over the back there, another towering rose. A shrub rose from David Austin Roses, Mill on the Floss, which I grow as a climber, spiraled once again around this obelisk, reaching 10 feet tall. It's right up here, right all the way up here. It's a huge plant. Really, really love that one. Very romantic. And again, you can see if I flip the thing around, we have in front of me east-facing hedge. The sun is just coming around midday, gets a lot of midday sun till about 2 o'clock, and then this will be plunged into deep shade. And behind it, it doesn't have any shade, any light whatsoever. But Mill on the Floss does really, really well there. It looks like the rose next to it, a top 10 rose from myself and David Austin, a fabulous one. Gabriel Oak is going to produce the first flower of the year. By the look of it, it's going to be a little bit distorted, which is very, very deformed, which is very, very common for roses as the first flush flower of flowers comes on. You'll get loads of messages at the beginning of every single beginning of the flush at June, July. My roses is deformed. Has it got rose disease? What do I do? Should I spray it? Should I dig it up? Often the hormones come through so quickly that the first buds get a little bit distorted. They don't open quite right. Some of them will be half flowers. Some of them will be small and stunted. Some won't open properly at all. Just nip them off. Just take them back by 2 or 3 leaf nodes, discard them. I promise you it'll all be fine. But as those hormone levels come forward, sometimes they open a little bit too early and you don't quite get perfect bloom straight away. But if you get that, just nip them off. It'll be fine. I absolutely promise you 99.999% of the time your rose is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. But it looks like Gabriel Oak is going to have one of those strange little flowers, which is very, very normal. Right, next to Gabriel Oak, we also have the Mary Rose. We've then got another Charles Darwin just down here as well. So really, really, I love this area. This is obviously, my truck just, and my work vehicle just here. So I love coming home and pulling in next to that border. That concludes today's walk around the garden. What I will do, so I'll just take a seat at the table here. Let's find somewhere where I haven't got the sun in my eyes. And I will just have a look and see whether we have any comments to respond to. So bear in a second if you've said something before. Right, I don't think we've got someone asking me, did I do a video of the wall? Yes, I did loads and loads of videos of the wall. This, I say, took us a long, long time to build. The area that I'm sat in used to be a big, well, same height as the area. If I stand up, you can see the soil level. When we had the addition done, which is replaced a conservatory that was on the back of the cottage, it was hideous, absolutely hideously ugly thing. A 90s lean-to conservatory on the back of the house, which occupied about, I don't know, about 50-60% of the total footprint of this particular building. Now, we added this bit with its big vaulted ceiling because we needed to keep the roof height the same. But that meant when the builder was finished, we had no access out here whatsoever. He cut he cut enough space into the soil. If I come back to here, you'll see. He cut about this much space into the ground so we could actually open the doors. And then we were left with soil up here. The height of everything else around here, you can see. It's quite high. It's about sort of coming on 4 feet at the back there. We got a digger in here, and with my truck, we pulled out 50 tons of soil to get this wall in. I laid a foundation. Well, Mark and I laid a foundation. We dug that together. And then stone by stone, this is 10 tons of random walling stone, which I had delivered. This was all done by hand. Mark would ferry me the stones and mix the concrete, and I would then build the wall. It took us, I want to say it took me about 3 months to build the planter at the top there, which housed the other olive. Then this one was built, and this created this in my head. I don't draw. I'm very good at designing gardens, but people struggle with me because I don't actually draw. I can't do scale, but I can mark something out and I can build. Anyway, this created this sort of snail-like effect. This planter spiraled into the wall all the way around. These little ledges, I counterlevered these into the wall to put drinks down and put little plants on. There's a series of these. There's one here, next behind the fire pit, the fire bowl, and then another 2 here counterlevered into the wall as well. So you can put drinks down and just other little bits and pieces. Really lovely with candles on in the evening. The wall tapers ever so slightly backwards to give it some stability. And then behind it is poured concrete as well. So this is really lovely. And then I had this idea of another sort of buttress end on this end of the at the end of the wall as it peters out and goes back around the cottage, that contains the two tree ferns. Now the tree fern, one of the tree ferns, a big one, Fern Britain, actually ended up here. When we first moved in, there was a little flight of stairs up here, just paving stones. It actually came up this area here, it was actually up here with a handrail. And because Fern Britain was so big when we moved in, we actually put Fern Britain down. Tree ferns don't really have any roots, but they are incredibly heavy. She's 8 foot tall, so very, very heavy. We moved in here 14th, 15th of April 2018, and it was just like it is now, just starting to wake up, and it was really imperative. It didn't get laid down, it needed to stand up. And I remember the guy that was helping us move, we had one end each, and we thought, well, no, we're going to put this blooming tree fern, I can't put it on the floor. And there was a handrail here containing two 3x3 fence posts that were made up the structure. And I said, put it on the floor there, we'll tie it up to that post, and it stayed here for 4 years. I didn't move it, couldn't get around to it. There was so much to do with the house: kitchen, bathroom, floorings, roof had to be completely replaced, garage roof had to be replaced, 500 meters of fencing had to be replaced. I did the gates, the patio, so much to do. I didn't get around to moving the tree fern, although I watered it every day. So in the end, it had rooted into the ground here. So when I came to build this wall, I didn't want to dig it up, and I thought, I'll tell you what I'll do, let's just work with what we got, let's build this plant around it. So I built the planter that's around it in situ, and then put the other tree fern in alongside, and then underplanted it with the other tree ferns you see just there. So that's the big tree fern, that's Fern Britain. I've one that my mum and dad gave me, a little 4 foot one that they had no longer had room for, and then a collection of ferns underneath. But that's the story of the wall and how this patio came in. And we've got sandstone paving, random sandstone paving, which is called mint fossil. This has got lots and lots of fossil prints in it, sort of fossilized ferns and seaweed and kelp and things in it. Really, really lovely. Right, I hope you have enjoyed today's garden tour. I'm sorry that I've rambled on for well over an hour, but if you want to leave me a comment, please don't hesitate to. I will see you all again very soon. Take good care now. Bye-bye.